Good morning, Patriots. How are you today? I'm running a little late today. I apologize. Trying to get a whole bunch set up and people won't leave me alone. So, anyways, hope you're having a great day. This is Mike Cook coming to you live from Central Missouri. As you're jumping on, say hi where you're watching from. I do appreciate everybody that does jump on and say hi to me. I really, really do. I'll get rid of a couple things here. I'm only half set up. I'm trying to do a whole bunch here. I apologize. Check this out. Hey, if you're on Facebook, jumping on Facebook right now, do me a favor. Go over and follow me or like my page and all that stuff, right? Like this video and share it. There's going to be a lot of information coming out in this video, and a lot of people need to hear what I'm about to say. I'm just going to say that. And some of you may not like it. Some of you may say it's controversial. I'm just putting this out there. I'm going to pretend I'm Brad today, and I'm just going to put it out there and let you decide. But I think that there's some hefty points to be made here, and then I'll title up at the end, I think. So anyways, do me a favor. This is me on Rumble. Everything I do is live on YouTube and Facebook. Go over to Rumble. I'll load everything up on there. Freedom still exists over there. This is my YouTube account. If you're on YouTube right now, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It does help me out. And like, comment, and share also over there on YouTube. I really appreciate it. And this is my Telegram account. Let me tell you, there's so much stuff on there. There's so much stuff I am not getting to. As I find things, I organize it. I put it over there so I can kind of keep it in somewhat of an order. And there's so much happening right now from the military buildup all over the place. You got Taiwan, and Taiwan saying the next time that the Chinese incursion into their no-fly zone area, they're going to shoot down their planes. You got Israel and Iran duking it out in the Red Sea, literally with ships. A whole bunch going on. Things are getting crazy. What does it mean? What does it all lead to? I don't know. Hope you got a nice warm cup of Joe. Help your day out, or whatever it is you're drinking. Enjoy it. It looks like it's going to be a wet, rainy day here in Central Missouri, but that's okay. We can take it. We can handle it. What a great day to be alive. You know, we were standing in times that were predicted thousands of years ago. We were standing in times that our forefathers dreamed of. We were standing in times when God's about to do something remarkable. So I need to get right to it. Stop talking, because I don't know that I'm going to fit it all in today. So we're going to try. We'll try to go where I want to go. But first, a couple of jokes, because everybody needs a joke, right? Well, this whole faux Joe and a hoe right now is an entire joke. Y'all hear about that in California, that they passed a law that said that transgendered can now go into the prison cells of whatever gender they choose. So 255 transgendered males that are still, they haven't had a cut a dick off of me yet, so it's still there, everything still works, have requested to transfer over to the female prisons because they identify as a female. That's absolutely nuts. I mean, just plain nuts. Anyways, moving along. So this was a post, and it's kind of cut off there, but I apologize. Basically, the FBI is looking for this guy in relation to what happened at the Capitol on the 6th. They say he's one of the most wanted. He's a bad guy, and they're really looking for him. Well, some QAnons, QAnon, HBO is doing a big special on QAnons, right? Some QAnons did some digging, and they found him. They did. They found that particular guy, and they wanted to make sure everybody knows they located him, and here he is. They found him, and he was in Spaceballs, the movie. You didn't know, right? It's like, who knew? So he was in yeah, here you go. This is what came to mind when I saw that.
What happened? Where are they? I don't know, sir. They must have hyperjets on that thing. And what do we got on this thing? A Cuisinart? No, sir. We'll find them, catch them. Yes, sir. Prepare ship for light speed. No, light speed is too slow. Light speed too slow? Yes, we're gonna have to go right to ludicrous speed. Ludicrous speed? Sir, we've never gone that fast before. I don't know if the ship can take us. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken? Prepare ship! Prepare ship for ludicrous speed. Fasten all seatbelts. Seal all entrances and exits. Close all shops in the mall. Cancel the free-range circus. Secure all animals in the zoo. Give me that, you petty excuse for an officer. Now.
I can't play more of it. They'll kick me off. Oh, ludicrous speed. That's the guy the FBI is looking for in relation to the terrible, most crisis, the most evilest attack on America since never. I mean, Nancy Pelosi was like, "Oh, we're all gonna die," and AOC was cowering in the corner, praying to whatever God she prays to. Antifa, no, Antifa's just a myth. That never really happened. Anyways, moving right along. I just found that just tickled me, so I thought I'd share with y'all. And then there's this one. Now, down at the bottom there, you see El Danio Trumpio. And let me tell you right now, get on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter, create a fake account. You don't have to post on, oh, we're not doing Twitter. Twitter is evil. We're not doing Facebook. Social media is bad. I get it. But you got to go over and you got to follow El Danio, however you say it, Trumpio. You got to follow it. So Dan Scavino, he posted this little video right here, and it's got Donald Trump in a mariachi hat, right? And then El Danio Trumpo replied, said soon. Now, okay, what's the video? All right, so let me pull this up. Here we go. You ready? I'm gonna pull this up in the background real quick. Let me pull that out. So here's the video. This is great.
King of the swingers, Louis. J.B. Holmes is as bull as there. Is it going to get round it somehow or other?
What's that? Is that the White House?
No! No! Go on! Oh, that's unbelievable! Have you ever seen anything like that?
Ever in my life.
So what I'm saying to you is you need to get on over to Twitter and check out El Danio Trumpo. That's it right there. ILDONALIDO, capital TRUMPO, and it's at Donald Trumpio. El Danio, whatever it is. You get the point. But he said soon. Is Donald Trump swinging for the White House again real soon? I don't know. I find that entertaining at best. So I got something. Usually I'll put my stuff up on the screen here so you can read along with me because I'm dyslexic and I mess it up. I cannot put what I'm about to put in written word on the screen. Heck, they might take me down just for saying it. But it's important that this gets out. And I want to say up front that if you go over to my Telegram account, sign up for Telegram, go over to my Telegram account, follow my Telegram account on my channel over there. This that I'm about to say is posted entirely there, along with links to where it came from, so that you can, get all the sources and all that stuff, okay? It's titled The Two Constitutions, okay? And I did not write this, and I don't want to say the name out loud. So you go over to my Telegram account, find out where this came from. I'm going to read most of this. I'm going to skip some of the, it gets into some minutia. I'm going to skip some of that, but you'll get the point. So it's called The Two Constitution. Assault on our sovereignty happened in 1871. You just don't know. That's when the matrix we live in started. Look, this matters. This matters because assaults on sovereignty destabilize. Assaults on sovereignty impoverish. Assaults on sovereignty enslave. Assaults on sovereignty are indeed assaults on very freedom that anchor Western's ideas, Secretary Pompeo said. Two constitutions in the United States. The first was suspended in favor of a Vatican corporation in 1871. Since 1871, the United States Congress has been playing politics under a different set of rules and policies. The American people do not know that there are two constitutions in the United States. The first penned by the leaders of the newly independent states of the United States in 1776. On July 4, 1776, the people claimed their independence from Britain and democracy was born. And 95 years later, the United States people were free and independent. That freedom ended for 95 years, we were free and independent. That freedom ended on 1871 when the original Constitution of the United States of America was changed. The original Constitution for the United States of America, written not in all capitals, was changed to the all capitals Constitution of the United States of America. The Congress realized that the country was in dire financial straits, as was after the Civil War. So they made a financial deal with the devil, international bankers, those days the Rothschilds of London, thereby incurring a debt to said bankers. The convenient international bankers were not about to lend the floundering nation any money without some serious stipulations. So they devised a way of taking back control of the United States, and thus the Act of 1871 was passed. With no constitutional authority to do so, Congress created a separate form of government for the District of Columbia. With the passage of the Act of 1871, the city-state, a state within a state, called the District of Columbia, located in 10 square miles of the land of the heart of Washington, was formed with its own flag, its own independent constitution, the United States secret second constitution. The flag of Washington's District of Columbia has 3 red stars symbolizing 3 city-states within the 3-city empire. The 3-city empire consists of Washington, D.C., London, and Vatican City. London is a corporate center of the 3 city-states that control the world economy. Washington's District of Columbia city-state is in charge of the military. The Vatican controls it all under the guise of spiritual and guidance, geographically separate. You have to bear with my dyslexia, my inability for my mind to take my mouth and say things. Okay. Although the geographically separate, the city-states of London, the Vatican, and the District of Columbia are interlocking empire called Empire of the City. The Constitution for the District of Columbia operates under a tyrannical Vatican law known as Lex Fori, and I don't know if I said that right, but it means local law. When Congress passed the Act of 1871, it created a separate corporation known as the United States, the corporate government for the District of Columbus. This treasonous act has unlawfully allowed the District of Columbia to operate as a corporation outside the original Constitution of the United States and in total disregard for the best interests of American citizens. POTUS, President of the United States, is the chief executive president of the corporation of the United States, operating as any other CEO of a corporation. This corporation governs with a board of directors, that's the cabinet officials, and managers, the Senate and the Congress. Obama, as others before him, is POTUS, operating as vassal king, taking orders once again from the City of London through the RIIA, or the Royal Institute of International Affairs. The Illuminati, formed by the Secret Society of Jesuits, the largest Roman Catholic religious military order headed by the Black Pope, created in the Royal Institute of International Affairs, IRRA, in 1919. The American equivalent to the RIIA is the Council of Foreign Relations, or CFR. The RIIA and CFR set up roundtable groups based on the King Arthur myths. What did the Act of 1871 achieve? The Act of 1871 put the United States back under British rule, which is under Vatican rule. The United States people lost their independence in 1871. The Constitution of the United States of America, all capitalized, is the Constitution of the Incorporated United States of America. It operates in an economic capacity and is has been used to fool the people into thinking it governs the republic. It does not. Capitalization is not insignificant. when one is referring to a legal document. The seemingly minor alteration has a major impact in every subsequent generation of Americans. What Congress did by passing the act in 1871 is created an entirely new document, a constitution for the government of the District of Columbia, and an incorporated government. Instead of having absolute and unalienable rights granted under an organic constitution, we the people now have relative rights and privileges. One example is sovereign right to travel, which has now been transformed under the corporate government policy into a privilege, which requires citizens to be licensed, driver's licenses and passports, etc. By passing the Act of 1871, Congress committed treason against the people who were sovereign under the grants and decrees of the Declaration of Independence and the Organic Constitution. The Act of 1871 became the foundation of all treason since committed by government officials. The Acts of 1871, the United States isn't a country, it's a corporation. In preparation for stealing America, the puppets of Britain's banking cabal had already created a second government, a shadow government designed to manage what the people believed was a democracy, but was really an incorporated United States, all capitalized. Together, this chimera, or two-headed monster, disallowed the people all of their sui juris, which is you in your sovereignty, means the individual. The USA is a crown colony. The US has always been and remains a British crown colony. King James I is not just famous for translating the Bible into King James Version, but for signing the first Charter of Virginia in 1606, which granted America's British forefathers license to settle and colonize America. The charter granted future kings and queens of England would have sovereignty and authority over all the colonized in America, all the lands colonized in America. After America declared independence from Great Britain, the Treaty of Paris, signed on September 3rd, 1783, was signed. That treaty identifies King of England as Prince of the U.S., Prince George III, by the grace of God, King of the Great Britain, France, Ireland, Defender of the Faith, the Duke of Brunswick and Lunenburg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince-Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, etc., and the United States of America, completely contradicting the premise, we won the War of Independence. Article 5 of that treaty gave the British estates, rights, and properties back to Britain. Now, I'm not going to read all that, but you can go to my Telegram page and read all the wherefore thous and stuff. It has become increasingly apparent to United States citizens that the government is no longer being conducted in accordance with the U.S. Constitution or within states' constitutions, according to. While people have recognized for more than 150 years that the rich and powerful often corrupt individual officials or execute undue influence to get legislation passed that favors their interest, most Americans still cling to the naive belief that such corruption is exceptional, that most of the institutions of society, the courts, the press, the law enforcement agencies still largely comply to the Constitution and the law in important matters. They expect these corrupt forces are disunited and in competition with one another. So they tend to balance one another out. Mounting evidence makes it clear that this situation is far worse than most people think. That during the last several decades, the U.S. Constitution has been effectively overthrown, and that it is now observed only as a facade to deceive and placate the masses. What has replaced it is what many call the shadow government, created with the illegitimate passing of the Act of 1871. It still, for the most part, operates in secret because its control is not secure. The exposure of this regime and its operations must now be the primary duty of citizens who still believe in the rule of law and the freedoms which this country is supposed to represent. That's why I read this to you. It's because that last line. It is our duty to start spreading the word. You see, this is part of it. This is our job. If you take a look at what 17 says, it says it's time for us to act. And this is how we act. We have to inform the people what's really going on. We have to inform the people of where we really are, what's really happening. We've been deceived. We've been lied to. We've been mischaracterized. It's not. If you take what I just read and you put it up against what you've seen happening since at least my adult lifetime, probably further back than that, between Bush, Herbert Walker, Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, the Hillary and all their stuff, the Bill Gates stuff, you put all that together with what I just read to you and you're going, gee, that kind of makes sense. So what can we do about it? What can be done about it? Well, one thing we need to do is we need to start informing our friends, neighbors, relatives, and everybody else. We need to start screaming from the rooftops that this ain't right. We need to take this back. This, what I just read to you, is why I fly this flag behind me. Because I'm trying to make a point in my background that this is no longer the United States of America. This is the People's Republic of America, or whatever it is you choose to call it. We have a president who's taken billions of dollars from the Chinese. And who knows who else. Where all that money originally came. Who's really in charge? You know, I could jump down a bunch of conspiracies, but I ain't going to. I'm going to turn back to my base. As I've told you all before, I pay attention to some of that 17 stuff. I pay attention to some of the other stuff. I take a look. I listen to all the same stuff you listen to, but I put my faith in one thing only, and that's God above. I put my faith in some of the prophets that I feel God has led. And I know, you're out there. I know I'm talking to you specifically. Keeps commenting on my YouTube page that Kim Clement's a false prophet. I got you. I hear you, brother. I hear you. I know what you're saying. His prophecies haven't come true. Yeah, I got you. I hear you. You left out a word in that, though. Yet. Hasn't come true yet. You see, because by your definition, let me ask you a question. Is Daniel, let me back up. I assume, sir, and you know who I'm talking to you right now. You keep posting that. You posted several times. I assume, I'm asking you a question. I assume that you believe that the word of God, the Bible, right in here, that every word of God is infallible and true. That if it's in the Bible, it's 100% true. Would you agree with that? Is that accurate, sir? I'm talking to you. Yes, I thought you'd say that. I thought you'd agree to that. Every word in the Bible is true, infallible, the word of God. Okay, so we've established a baseline here. So let me ask you another question on top of that. Is Daniel in the Bible? You know, Daniel in the lion's den and all that, had all the visions and dreams. Is he a false prophet? I can't hear you. What? But his prophecies haven't come true yet. Several of them. So by your definition with Kim Clement or Mark Taylor or some of the others, Daniel would be a false prophet. Is John, the guy that wrote Revelation, is he a false prophet? Because a lot of that hasn't come true yet either. How about that? Yet. Kim Clement's prophecies haven't come true yet, but a lot of them have. Moving right along. I put my faith in God and in the prophetic and in what the Bible says. And when my spirit down inside here goes, boo, 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 I pay attention to it now. Before I used to ignore it or tried to. It makes you uncomfortable. So let me ask, let me point where I'm going with this. I just want to read something. I got a lot of reading today. Bear with me. So I've talked about it many times. You've heard Kim Clement talk about it, Mark Taylor talk about it. You heard Robin Bullock talk about it. You've heard Hank Kooky, you know what I'm talking about. Hank from Nebraska. You've heard him talk about some of the other prophets have brought this particular passage up over and over. This is what quickened my spirit to them to begin with, because I'm going, hey, that's exactly what God's telling me. Hello. It's called confirmation, my friends. You got to try it sometime. So this is, as Pharaoh approached, let me back it up. Let me give you background. This is the Exodus. This is Moses. He's leading the Egyptians out to the desert. Egyptians, he led them too. He's leading the Israelites out to the desert, to the Red Sea, and they're sitting there complaining. It hasn't happened yet. January 6th got here and nothing happened. And then January 20th and nothing happened. Oh, we're abandoned. All is lost. It's all lies. Big psyop conspiracy. Donald Trump never come back. It's all over. We're all going to die. Woe is me. I think I'll go be Eeyore. Yeah. That's exactly what they were doing. It was better if we just stayed as slaves in Egypt. At least we'd have something to eat. Well, here we are. So we're at the water's edge. As Pharaoh approached the Israelites, looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified. They cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, oh, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us out here to die? I mean, come on. Joe Biden's president. What are we supposed to do? It wasn't stolen. It was just borrowed. What have you done? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Did we not say to you in Egypt to leave us alone? Let us serve the Egyptians. It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert. I'd rather be on my knees and red than to be dead. Anyways, Moses answers the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm. Stand firm. Never heard that before. Stand firm. Huh. And you will see the deliverance of the Lord and will bring you today. My friends, we're getting close. The Egyptians will see you today. Excuse me. The Egyptians you see today you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Whew. I never pointed that out before. The Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Or why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to get moving. Get off your butts and start moving. Raise your staff over and stretch it over the sea and to divide the waters so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go through after them, and I will gain glory through Pharaoh and his armies. I will gain glory. That's what this is all about. God's going to gain the glory. Oh, and it's going to be bigger than that. It'll be good. Though this through his chariots and his horsemen, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. Then the angel of God, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved in front and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. Throughout the night, the cloud brought darkness to one side and light to the other side, so neither went near the other all night long. Doesn't it seem like no matter what they do, they can't touch Donald Trump or his team? Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night, the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued them, and all Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the sea. During the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and the cloud at the Egyptian army and threw them into confusion. He jammed their wheels and their chariots so that they had difficulty driving. And the Egyptians said, let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting against Egypt. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and their horsemen. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak, the sea went back to its place, and the Egyptians were fleeing towards it. The Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariot and the horsemen and the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea, and not one of them survived. But the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their left and on the right, or on the right and on their left. That day, the Lord saved Israel from the hands of Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. And when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and Moses, his servant. We tell you, friends, what God is about to do is so far beyond the scope of what the human mind can imagine. Oh, we all got our plans. We all got our ideas of how it's supposed to look, but I'm telling you, it ain't that. Nope. Nope. No. The walls of water are about to come. Watch the water. They're about to come crashing down on this whole facade, this whole 100 and something years of BS that we've been living under is about to come crashing down. The house of cards is about to, the winds are blowing, and it's about to come down. And it's gonna devour all these people that are involved in this. All the stuff from the weirdness stuff to even all of it is going. God's gonna wipe it clean. And when it happens, the American people, the entire world is going to see the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against this evil. And they will fear the Lord and put their trust in his servant. Hello. Put that together in your head. Think about that one. But wait, there's more. Yes, there is. God doesn't just do it once. He does it again and again and again throughout history. God has intervened in the affairs of man. I had a friend of mine, a very, very good friend of mine. He's a Christian, but he doesn't believe that God intervenes in the affairs of man. And he says, so when? Tell me when. Since the Bible times, tell me when. I told him the story. I told him the story of the first major engagement that George Washington was at the Battle of Bunker Hill, I think. And the British chased him out of New York. And they were in headlong retreat, and they were hemmed in by the water, by the river there. I think that's the battle. Anyways, it was the first major battle that George Washington was in. And the British were chasing him. They're surrounding his camp, right? So he's camped there, and they're surrounding him right at the water's edge. George Washington put up fires, and so it made a bunch of noise. He had people staying to make noise. And they had to get across this water, and they couldn't get across the water. They didn't have any boats, so they scrounged up a few boats, and they started getting across the water. They started just funneling his men a few at a time, but it was going to take all night, and then it wasn't going. They weren't going to get it done. So the next morning, the other problem that they had too was that the British fleet was coming up the river to cut them off, but God made the wind go away. Back then, without wind, you didn't sail. So there was no wind. And they were able to get the men across because the ships didn't come to cut them off and surround them. But come morning time, they didn't get all the men across. There were still men on the other side. And so a heavy, thick fog came and settled on the land. And they were able to sneak the rest of the men across before the British even knew they were gone. Because God intervened and saved the army of the Republic to fight another day. And over and over again, miracles like this happened during the Revolutionary War. God is still at work today, and he's still at work in this country. Let me go on. This is David. So David's king, right? It's good to be the king, right? He's got a bunch of kids. They're all grown. He has this one kid, Absalom, I think is how you say his name. Absalom wants to be king. So he gathers up a bunch of folks and says, I'm king. And they're all like, yeah, God bless the king. King reign forever. All that stuff, right? David gets wind of this and he bugs out because he's like, uh-oh. They catch us here, they'll kill us because, when one king decides he's going to be king over another king, what do? They take care of it, right? So we have a false king in the kingdom. He's declared himself to be king, but he's not God's anointed. He's declared himself to be king, but he's not anointed king by God. David was anointed king by God, but not Absalom. But he's declared himself king, and he's won the hearts of the American people by hook or by crook. Boy, does that sound familiar? So here's Absalom, right? And David has fled to the desert. He's hiding in the caves in the desert with his men. He's got several men with him, hundreds, if not thousands. And there's another parallel here. David's men. It talks about the exploits of David's men in the Bible. It talks about how one man kills 1,000. Talks about how one guy was fighting off thousands of bad guys. I don't remember who they were fighting at the time. He has a sword in his hand and he's fighting off, and they're coming at him, and he kills them all. And he fought all day long, all day, like this, covered in blood, guts, and mire, and all this stuff. And they had to remove the sword from his hand because he couldn't open his hand. That's how long he fought. These are David's men. Men of valor, men of strength, men God has blessed to be warriors. The elite. These were the special forces, the Navy SEALs, the Green Berets of the day. These men of David, these men of valor, these mighty men of David. But Absalom gathered the regular army, the National Guard, so to speak, of the Israelites. They said, let's go get this David. I'm going to take care of David. And I'm going to set myself up as king. We're good. That's what we're going to do. This is David's son, a false king, not anointed by God. So this is it. The armies are coming together. The battle lines are drawn. It says David's army marched out of the city to fight Israel, all of Israel. The battle took place in the forest of Ephraim. There, Israel's troops were routed by David's men, and the casualties that day were great, 20,000 men. The battle spread out over the whole countryside, and the forest swallowed up more men that day than the sword. You see, God got involved in the fight. Interesting. Just like with the Egyptians, when he was taken and frustrating the Egyptians, when he had the darkness on one side and light on the other, and when he caused their wheels to fall off and to get stuck in the mud. They did the same thing here, because David was the anointed. David was the man God chose, just like Moses was the man God chose for such a time as this. Now, Absalom happened to meet David's men. He was riding on his mule, and his mule went under a thick branches of large oak, and Absalom's hair got caught in a tree. Now, I just caught this morning. I've been reading here in Samuel. Anyways, it said that Absalom's hair was really thick and really beautiful. He had the bestest hair ever. I mean, he had the bestest hair, and he would grow it real long. And when it got too heavy for him, he'd cut it. And it said it would what he would cut off would weigh several pounds. So his hair is like miraculously thick and strong. Okay. So he was riding his mule, and his mule went under thick branches of a large oak, and Absalom's hair got caught in the tree, and he was left hanging in midair. When I read that several times, I always thought it got caught like hung by a branch or something. But it's not. His hair got caught. His beautiful hair that he trimmed and combed, and it talked a lot. Earlier it talks about Absalom and everybody, how beautiful and handsome he was because of his hair. It's got a lot of pride in his hair, but it was his hair that was his downfall. His hair gets caught in a tree. He was left hanging in midair, while on a mule he was riding kept going. But that had to be embarrassing. When the men saw what had happened, when one of the men saw what had happened, he told Joab, I just saw Absalom hanging in an oak tree. What? Joab said to the man who had told him this, what? You saw him? Why didn't you strike him down to the ground there? Then I would give you 10 shekels of silver and a warrior's belt. Well, this is an interesting response. So, but the man replied, even if you gave me 1,000 shekels, were weighed out in my hand, I would not lay a hand on the king's son. In our hearing, the king commanded you and Epipsepshini, I don't know, and Itili, why can't they name these people decent names? But anyways, protect the young man, Absalom, for my sake. And if I put my life in jeopardy and nothing is hidden from the king, you would have not kept distance from me. He's saying, if the king had given you the order to kill me because I killed that dude, killed his son, you would have killed me. So no, I don't want your money. I will not turn on the orders of the Lord's anointed. Isn't that amazing? Joab said, I'm not going to wait like that for you. So he took 3 javelins in his hand and plunged them through Absalom's heart while Absalom was still alive in an oak tree. And 10 of Joab's armor bearers surrounded him and killed him. Anyways, there you go. Now you have it. During his lifetime, Absalom had taken a pillar and erected it in the king's valley as a monument to himself. For he thought, I have no son to carry on my memory of my name. He named the pillar after himself, and to this day it's called Absalom's monument. So there's another story where God, it looks like it's done for David. The whole Israel, all 12 tribes are coming after David. Only thing David has is his mighty men. But you know what? With God's help, that was enough. And God, when it all looked the worst, David was surrounded. God took care of it. Even the forest helped fight. But this last little part I put in there, during his lifetime, Absalom took a pillar and erected it in the king's valley as a monument to himself. You think about these presidents. You think about my lifetime. Presidents are always talking about their legacy. You can't undo what I've done because you'll mess with my. Barack Obama was all upset about his legacy. Bill Clinton was all upset about his legacy. George W. Bush was all upset about his legacy. Setting up monuments for them. They didn't just go out and stack rocks like Absalom did, but they're setting up monuments for themselves so they can have a legacy. Isn't that interesting? I just found that to be interesting. See, God is not going to let us down. He said it. His prophets have said it. I know you're out there still watching because you can't help yourself. Yet. That word yet. It's interesting. I got one more thing to leave with y'all, and I'm going to be done. I can't believe I got through it all this fast. Be prepared for what God's about to do. I know it seems like it's going on and on, but just be prepared for what God's about to do. God's about to do something so great that the whole world is going to take notice of it, and they're going to fear God because of it, and worldwide revival is going to break out. I said it. I meant it. It's coming. We are in the end times, but not the end of the end times. But we're close. God's about to do something that, and his servant said right there, they feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. When this is all said and done, the fear of the Lord will cover this generation. And they'll put their trust in his servant. One more thing I want to read. This is from Experiencing God. This was posted. It's on my Telegram page. Silence Do Good NBA shared it, and it's from CJ Truth Official, whatever that is. I don't follow that one. It says, from the Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby. If you've never done this study, you get a chance, do it. It's a real good study. And I probably got to do it again because my mindset has shifted. I might get more out of it. When God delivered the Israelites from slavery, there were 0 casualties. I just read that to you. None in the process. Egypt was plundered. They took all the gold out of Egypt. The Egyptians, God changed their heart and they gave them their gold. So there were 0 casualties and Egypt was plundered. The Egyptian army was destroyed and the Israelites did not lose a single person. Why don't we realize that God doing things God's way is always the best? I know you guys want it to happen. I know you're like, God, I wish the military would rise up and do what they did in Myanmar. I wish Donald Trump would go into the White House and kick Fojo and Ho out with just grab them by the neck and just throw them out and lay out all the Dominion stealing and borrowing of the elections. I wish we could just do this thing. Why don't you realize that doing things God's way is always the best? We cause a great deal of pain in our own lives because we decide what we think is best. Oh, that we would discover the difference when we acknowledge Christ as head of the body of the church. We will accomplish more in 6 months through people yielding to him than we could in 60 years in our own strength and wisdom. Huh. Wow. 6 months. Trust in God. Yield to God. Yield to his leading. And let this thing play out. And when it's done, the world will fear God. They will see the hand of God and fear God when this is done. And I'm telling you, it ain't going to last this long. It ain't going to last much longer. We're there. We're at the water right now. We're at the water. Okay. The enemy's coming. The chariot's coming. We can hear them. They're coming. The dust is rising. We can see them. And y'all are bitching. If we only stayed in Egypt. That's you right now. Donald Trump's at the water, and the water's a boiling, and the wind's starting to blow. Get ready, folks. It's going to happen. You know, I put a timeline on it. I thought it was going to happen already, but doggone it, I don't get to pick that because I'm not perfect. That reminds me of a song by Al Jurnan. It says, rest easy, have no fear. God's love is perfect, and perfect love drives out all fear. God's love is perfect, and it's coming, my friends. It's getting ready to happen. Trust in God. And I'm telling you, you're going to see a miracle. Oh, you're going to see a miracle that hasn't happened in thousands of years. God has not moved like he's about to move in thousands of years. Think about it. Are you not fired up about that? Lord, please let me live long enough to see it. Don't let me die this year. Have mercy on me, Lord. You guys have a great day. I got to get going. I got to get to work in a few minutes. Talk to y'all later.